Well, good morning, everybody. I am the Secretary for the Technology Agency, but I don't have a PowerPoint for you. So just let you know in advance. Instead, I have like 17 pages of notes, so you'll just have to bear with me as I go through it. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you for inviting me here to be part of this event and this initiative. And then also thank all of you for participating. Digital literacy is high on the agenda for the Brown administration and for my agency in particular. I thought what I would do is, keep my remarks actually relatively short, but also leave some time for question and answers at the end. But I thought what I would do is give you a little bit of an overview of what my agency does. How many of you actually work in state government? So there's a couple of you that probably are familiar with our agency, but for most of you, you may not be that familiar with what we do. So the California Technology Agency, as Greg said, has policy and oversight responsibility for technology policy for the state as a whole. Digital literacy certainly is one of the areas where we have oversight and policy lead on it. But apart from that, we also have policy-making responsibility for the way that the state manages its technology portfolio, primarily in the executive branch, but we do spill over a little bit into the legislative and judicial branch, and also with some oversight over some of the other constitutional offices. So the State Controller's Office, for example, or State Treasurer's Office, we work with them quite a bit. But there's actually two sides to our agency. We have a policy and oversight responsibility, but on the other hand, we're also a services provider. We have a whole bunch of offices and organizations within our agency that actually provide direct technology services to other public sector entities. So for example, we have the Office of Technology Services, which provides a statewide data communications network and hosting and data center services. And we also have a Public Safety Communications Office, which is responsible for supporting emergency communications for public safety throughout the state. So we run the state's 911 network and backbone. We provide support to all the different dispatch centers for emergency communication and public safety in the state. So we really have kind of an interesting, two-sided area of responsibility. On the one hand, we're a control agency with oversight, and on the other hand, we're also a services provider to our public sector customers. I was recently appointed to the position just a couple of months ago, and one of the questions that I'm asked a lot, because I was, as Greg pointed out, I had been in government before. I stepped away to start my own consulting practice and was doing actually really well at it and enjoying it and enjoying, first of all, not having to live on a state salary, not having to deal with furloughs, not having to deal with, all the headaches that come with being a state employee. But I was invited to come back in and work for government. And one of the reasons that I did decide to come back, especially in this position, is because technology is such a large part of the way that we live our daily lives. And I thought I'd take just go over the last maybe week or so of looking at my own life, in my own personal situation of how much technology is really a part of the way that I do things and the way that my family handles things at home. I'm sure all of you can kind of share this experience. I have a high school age son. He's a junior in high school this year. And I was just looking at, what advantages we have now and what advantages he has now compared to when I was in school those many years ago. So for example, in his case, we use technology. We go online to communicate with his teachers and to find out what his homework assignments are and what sort of events are coming up at his school. We don't have to wait till one of us can go in and go talk to a teacher if there's an issue of bad grade or missing assignment. We know about it. We don't have to wait 3 or 4 weeks to get a progress report saying, hey, your son's not doing that great in school. We also use it to coordinate some of his school activities. He plays in the school drum line. And so, they have concerts and they have shows and you have to get people over there and you have to be there at a certain time and you have to know which school you're going to go perform at and coordinate rides and do all of that stuff. We do almost all of that online, either through email or through the website that they have there. My older son, who's already graduated college and is out in the working world, is helping my younger son to try and get ready for college. So he set up a collaboration site where his mom and myself and my older son can start doing college planning for him. You know, we have a list, we have a site where we all go on there. We know what the deadlines are, when he has to apply. We have the websites of the colleges and the scholarships that he's going to apply for. And we go on there and know when the, say, the PSAT or the SAT exams are coming on. So we're leveraging all of that. I have a daughter in college too who's also kind of weighing in and saying, oh, you know, you should really send him down here and go to school where I'm in school. And we also use, just on a day-to-day basis, we use our cell phones to text each other or find out, hey, where are you? What time do you get out of the game? And who's going to pick you up? What time are you going to get home? You know, are you spending the night at Jonathan's house, or is he spending the night at our house, et cetera, et cetera. And then he also uses it himself for a whole bunch of things, whether it's, you know, playing on games online or doing homework or, you know, setting up his own classes for driver's training. So that's just one example. I also have a daughter. My daughter's in college. So she does almost all of her shopping for textbooks online. She doesn't have to go into the school bookstore anymore like I used to, or, you know, wait to see where she can sell her books back at a third of the price that that she paid for them. When she's in school in Southern California, so when she comes home for the holidays and then drives back, I'm able to actually track her by her cell phone to see, okay, she's over the grapevine now, and, you know, she's made it into LA, and, you know what time she got there, what time she got back here. You know, to my chagrin, I can pay her tuition online. I can also use my cell phone to transfer money into her account, which, you know, unfortunately happens a lot. And on the plus side, she can go online to look for internships and jobs, which I'm really usually pretty happy about. And then just in my own life, you know, I use technology all the time. In fact, this last weekend I was at a football game. I got to go and watch a game here live. One of my favorite teams was playing. And so I bought my tickets online. I coordinated the caravans and, you know, where we were all going to sit. We used GPS to figure out, okay, where's the parking lot? Where's the best place to tailgate? I even went online to figure out, and I watched a video on what's the best way to grill a ribeye. And it actually turned out to be a pretty good recipe. But I mean, I did all of this stuff online and through technology. And, you know, we use it for serious stuff too. You know, we use it to go online and find out about, you know, medical situations, or, you know, my wife had to have some tests recently, and, you know, we found out a lot about, you know, what those sorts of medical conditions were, and got a lot of information so that when we went in and talked to the doctor, we were very well prepared and ready to ask questions that were important. You know, I use it for banking, or to, you know, file taxes and do all that stuff. The point is, technology is a bigger and bigger part of the way that we live our lives. Now, in my house, and we're, you know, and maybe in this room we're not the exception, but we sort of take technology and computers for granted. You know, everybody's got a PC, and, you know, I can go online and do all of this stuff. But to my surprise, one of the things that I found is that there's a pretty big divide, and there's a big discrepancy. For example, I found out, and these sorts of statistics I'm sure are pretty familiar to all of you, but I found out that in terms of parents using the internet or going online to visit their school's website or their children's school's website and communicate with teachers, in households of incomes of $80,000 or more, about 84% of the parents do that. In incomes or households with incomes are under 40,000, then only 30% of the folks do that. So that's a pretty wide disparity. And I found out that for myself, you know, being a Latino, I have a computer at home and I have internet connectivity, but I'm in the minority. Less than half of the Latino families and homes out there do. So this issue of the disparity is a big one. It's an issue that concerns me quite a bit. You know, my kids are getting ready to go to school and getting ready to graduate and get into the workforce, but it's become pretty obvious that digital literacy is quite important for our students and then also for our workforce. So as an agency, you know, the idea of coming back in and being in an agency where we have the ability to help in that regard was really appealing to me. I think that's why the goals of an initiative like this are really worthwhile. I think it's important for leaders, whether you're in the public sector or in the private sector or in the community-based organizations, or just, you know, out there in general, to work together to try and bridge this digital divide. So I'm really pleased to see everything that you're doing over here. For my own agency, we see a couple of hopeful signs. I want to share a couple of other statistics with you here. Did you know that 85% of American adults own cell phones or mobile phones. And if you look at the folks that are under age 35, the numbers go up to 95%. So in my mind, that's a hopeful sign. Maybe that's one of the ways that we can start to bridge this digital divide. Interestingly enough, a couple of other interesting statistics. They did some research and found out that 55% of folks that own cell phones would rather give up caffeine than give up their cell phone. And 63% would rather give up chocolate than give up cell phones. So just something to be to note. Now for us, as an agency, this is a trend that we've noted with interest. Something else kind of interesting. Last year in California, we know this because we have the Public Safety Communications Office under our watch, but the emergency dispatch centers, or 911 centers really, took 23.8 million phone calls, 911 calls. Of those, 70% were from cell phones. So that was pretty interesting. It also presents a pretty interesting challenge because unlike a landline, a cell phone doesn't tell you or isn't tied directly to an address, right? So if you have a cell phone with a 916 number and you're down in San Diego and you call, you know, normally it would go to just a 916 dispatch center or cell tower up here in terms of when it would route your call. You know, in our mind, that was an issue that really needed to be addressed and then also needed to be maybe leveraged. So our agency has taken on some initiatives to try and take advantage of the fact that there is so much ubiquity of mobile technologies. For example, we have taken on a project called the Next Generation 911 Project. And the idea here is to take our 911 system, which is right now analog primarily, and digitize it. Make it available so that folks can share not only, you know, voice calls, but also other media, video, text, those sorts of things. So now if somebody is making a call or reporting an accident, maybe they can take a picture, because almost all cell phones now have pictures or have camera capabilities, and send that in as well. Also, by doing this this Next Generation 911 network, it gives the cell phone system or the 911 system the ability to use a GPS in your phone, find out where you are, and then route your call to the nearest public safety access point. So now you get routed, if you're in San Diego, you get routed to San Diego PD or to San Diego Sheriff's Department or CHP. So, you know, we are making efforts in that regard. The other things that we're doing too is we're encouraging agencies to put as much of their services online as possible. And, you know, to their credit, most of the state agencies really have done that. On the mobility side, we have right now 30 agencies that have moved some of their services online through mobile apps so that you can access them over the phone. So for example, you can now renew your license and your registration for your vehicle through a mobile app. You can get fishing and game licenses. You can find health treatment centers depending on, you know, number of different areas in the healthcare area online, and you can check the refund status of your tax status. So there's a number of different areas that we can encourage folks to work on at putting things online. The challenge for us is that we can do that as a state and as an agency, but if folks don't have access to it on the consumer end, if they don't have access to broadband connectivity, and they don't have access to computer equipment and the know-how of how to use that, all those services are really of little value. So to us, the idea of digital literacy is very important. I know to Governor Brown, it's very important as well. So he's charged our agency with trying to support this as much as we can. I was talking to Sunny a little bit ago. We do have a position within our agency whose focus is on broadband technologies and really to support the expansion of broadband technologies to rural areas of the state and underserved areas of the state. Now, unfortunately, one of the folks that I had working on that area has moved on into his own private business, Bill Maley down here. So we do have a vacancy there, and I say that because we are looking for folks that are interested, that know the area, more importantly, that are committed and know that there's work to be done here. So really, I guess what I wanted to say this morning is that the work that you are all doing, this initiative, is quite important. It's one that we will support from a policy perspective. It's one that we will support by putting our efforts behind it from a technology initiative perspective. And in the oversight and policies we disseminate that other agencies of the state have to work under. But there's a lot of work to do. We certainly recognize that. We do see some hopeful signs, but there is a lot of work to do. So I want to thank you